On this video, I'm going to do what we might call a polyglot reading of John chapter 10, the first few verses, reading it in Greek, then Hebrew and Latin, with some basic grammar, especially in Greek and Hebrew. I am trying to better myself in Latin, and I do this to get my mind on the scriptures. It's just mentally, I think, healthy for me to work in grammar. And I would like to invite anyone that wants to join to have an open Greek New Testament, a Latin version, translation of the New Testament, and a Hebrew translation. I'll be using Delitz's translation and trying to do some grammatical analysis of each of these things, or each of these languages. So we begin. Verse 1. Amen, amen, legu humen. Hame eser hamenas diates duras estein alein ton prabaton ala anabainon ala kathen akenas kleptes estin kai lestes. Verily, verily, I say to you, the one who enters through the door unto the fold of the sheep, or the court of the sheep, but climbs up another way, that one is a thief and a robber. Ha eser hamenas is a present middle participle nominative masculine singular from a serkamai, the one who does not enter through the door or through the gate into the fold of the sheep, or through the door unto the sheepfold, the fold of the sheep, but climbs up. Anabainon is your present active participle nominative masculine singular from anabino, climbs up another way, that one is a thief and a robber. The Hebrew reads, the Hebrew translation, Amen, Amen, Ani omer lachem, ish asher lo yavo derek hasha'ar el mikla hatzon, ki im ya'ale b'derek acher ganav u faritz hu. Verily, verily, I am saying to you, a man who does not enter the way of the gate unto the sheepfold, or fold of the sheep, but goes up in another way, is a thief and a robber. Omer is your participle, your cow participle, masculine singular, from amar, and the one who says, or I say to you, a man who does not go, yavo, is your imperfect, is your cow imperfect, third masculine singular from bo, a middle weak verb, does not go or come to the way of the gate unto the fold of the sheep. But ya'aleh is the cow imperfect, third masculine singular from Allah, but who goes up another way is a ganav, is a thief and a robber. The Latin text then reads, Amen, amen, digo vobis, qui non entrat per ostium in avile avium, sed ascendet aliunde ille fur est et latro. That is, verily, verily, I am saying to you, present indicative active from meaning from dicko, meaning to say, I say to you that whosoever enters, whosoever does not enter, entrat, present indicative active third person singular, meaning to enter, by the door into the fold of the sheep, but who ascends another way, ascendet, present indicative active third person singular, from ascendo, but ascends another way. That one is a thief and a robber. So then we go back to the Greek text in verse 2. In other words, there's only one way to enter into the fold, and that is the proper way by going through the door that the porter opens. So in verse 2, Jesus says, "Ha de eserchamenas dia te sturas poimen estin ton prabaton." But the one who enters through the door is the shepherd of the sheep. Eserchamenos, again, is your present middle participle nominative masculine singular from eserchomai. The one who enters through the door is the poimen, the shepherd of the sheep. And the Latin reads in verse 2, Va'asher yavo derek hasha'ar hu ro'e hatzon. That is, and the one that which enters, the one who enters the door of the gate, he is the shepherd of the sheep. Yavo is from the middle weak verb bo. It's the cow imperfect third masculine singular from bo. And ro'eh is the cow participle masculine singular from ra'ah, is the one who is shepherding or the shepherd of the sheep. The Latin then reads, Qui autem intrat per ostium pastor est ovium, is the shepherd of the sheep. Ovium, pastor est ovium. There we go. But he who enters by the door, entrat again is your present indicative active third person singular from entrare or intro. He is the pastor ovium. Ovium is your genitive plural, is the pastor of the sheep. It is interesting here that pastor is the Latin for roe, shepherd, in the Hebrew, and then also in the Greek we have the word shepherd. Here is a he is the poimen, the shepherd of the sheep. So then we go to verse 3. Tuto ha thuroras anoige, kai ta prabata tes phones autu akue, kai ta idia prabata phone, kat anima kai exage alta. To this one, the doorkeeper, the porter is opening, and the sheep hear his voice, and his very own sheep he calls by name, according to name, and he leads them out. Here we have the porter or the doorkeeper. To this one, the shepherd opens. Anoige is from anoigo, your present indicative active third person singular from anoigo, opens, and the sheep hear his voice. Again, akue, your present indicative active third person singular from akuo, hears his voice, and his own sheep, phone from phoneo, he calls kat anima according to name, and exage, he leads them out. From asago, all of these are present indicative actives, third person singular. From this last one would be asago. And looking at the Hebrew of verse 3, lo yiftach shomer hasaf v'hatzon et kolo tishmana v'hu letzono b'shem yikra v'yotzien. That is, to him the keeper of the door opens, and the sheep will hear his voice, and he, his own sheep, to his own sheep, will call by name, and he will cause them to be led out. Notice here, yiftach is from patach, to open. It's the cow imperfect third masculine singular from patach. To him, the one who's keeping the gate. Shomer is from shamar, a cow participle masculine singular from shamar. To him, the keeper of the gate opens and or will open. Yiftech, yiftach. I think I said is the cow imperfect third masculine singular from patach, and the sheep will hear his voice. Tishmana from shama, it is the cow imperfect third person feminine plural from shama. So the sheep, they will hear his voice, and he to his own by name will call. Le sono, to he to his sheep, b'shem, by name, yikra, he will call. The cow imperfect third masculine singular from kara, veyotziem, and he will cause them to be led out. Yotziem is from yatsa. That verb was previously a peva verb. It's the hifil imperfect third masculine singular from vatsa historically, yatsa, and aim is your pronominal suffix third masculine plural. A causative stem here in the Hebrew. And then looking at the Latin of that verse, it reads, quick astiarios aperet. To this one, the doorkeeper opens et oves vocem eus adiont, and the sheep hear his voice. Adiont is from adio. It's a present indicative active third person singular from adio. They hear his voice. Et proprias oves vocat nominatim et educit eius. That is, he calls his very own by name. Vocat is your present indicative active third person singular from vocare, and he leads them out. Educit, again, a present indicative active third person singular. So he leads them out. And then in verse 4, the Greek, reading the Greek of verse 4, it reads, Hatanta idia alta ekbale imprasten alton peruatai kai ta prabata alto akaluthe hate oida sentain phonein altu. That is, when his very own, he casts all of his very own out. Sort of an interesting word here in the Greek, ekbale. Imprasten auton, peruatai kai ta prabata auto, akaluthe kai oida sentain phonein autu. That is, whenever his own he casts out from ekbalo, it's the aorist subjunctive active third person singular from ekbalo, and then he goes before them. Paruatai from paruamai, present indicative middle third person singular from paruamai, and his sheep follow akaluthe from akalutheo, present indicative active third person singular from akalutheo, because they know his voice. Oidasin is your perfect indicative active third person plural from oida. And so they follow him. It's got a present meaning, even though it's a perfect in form. And so verse number 4 in the Hebrew, V'acharei hotzio et sono, hu ya'avor lifnehem, v'hatzon holachot acharav, ki yadu'u et kolo. And afterwards, he causes the sheep, he causes his sheep, or he brings forth, I should say, his sheep. Here we have a hifil form here. He causes to bring forth a hifil perfect third masculine singular from yatsa. So he causes them, pronominal suffix third masculine singular, his sheep to go forth, and he passes before them. Ya'avor, the cow imperfect third masculine singular from avar, he passes before them, and the sheep, holachot achare, they follow or they go after him. Holachot is from halat, it's the cow participle feminine plural from halat. They go after him, ki yadu'u et kolo, for they know his voice. Yadu'u from yada, the cow perfect third masculine plural from yada. And then the Latin, reading the Latin, it reads, cum proprias omnes emisseret. That is, when he casts out his own sheep, anti eus vadet, he goes before them, present indicative active third person singular, and his sheep, ois elum sequuntur, they follow, quias geunt vocem eus, because they know, another present indicative active third person plural, they know his voice. And then it's interesting, he knows all of his sheep by name. He knows us all by name. If Jesus is our shepherd, what a beautiful thought that the text is giving us here. So then going back to the Greek text of verse 5. Alatrio de me akaluthesusin, ala fuxantai ap altu, hate uk oidasin ton alatrion tain phonein. But to a stranger, they will not indeed follow, but will flee from him, because they do not know the voice of strangers. So as we look at this text just briefly, but to a stranger they will no wise, double negative, ume, akaluthesu, seen from akalutheo, future indicative active third person plural from akalutheo, they will no wise follow, but they will flee. Fuxantai is from fugo, future indicative active, third person middle from fugo. You think of the future, I'm just thinking here, lusamai, luse, lusatai, lusamata, lusaste, lusantai. So yeah, it's a future indicative middle from fugo. But they will flee from him because they do not know the voice of strangers. Oida seen again is your perfect indicative active third person plural from oida. Perfect but functioning as a present here. And so then going to the Hebrew of verse 5, the Hebrew then reads, V'acharei zar lo telatna, ki im yanusu mipanav, ki et kol hazarim lo yada'u. But after a stranger, they will not go. Notice telatna from halat. It's the cow imperfect, third feminine plural from halak. They will not go, but they will flee. Nus is the root here. Yanusu, the cow imperfect, third masculine plural from nous. But they will flee from before him because the voice of strangers, lo yada'u, they do not know, from yada, cow perfect, third uh, masculine plural from yada. So they'll flee because they don't know the voice of the stranger. And then the Latin reads, Alienum autem non sequentur, sed fugient ab eo, quia non noverunt vocem alienorum. That is, the voice of for a stranger they will not follow, but they will flee. Future, it looks to me like indicative active third person plural, to flee from him because they do not know, no whereum, they have not known the voice of another. They will flee, and here we have the perfect indicative active third person plural from no. They have not known the wokem, the voice of strangers. I think in ecclesiastical Latin, I'm told they pronounce the vocem, the V. I'm, I'm pronouncing it wokem, like a U, which I believe your more classical Latin is pronounced, at least from the little Latin that I've tried to study. Uh, my main emphasis has been in Greek and Hebrew. So then we go to uh, verse 6, which reads, Tau tain tain, paroimian epen autois ha Jesus, akenoi de uk egnosan tena ein ha elale autois. This parable or this figure, Jesus said to them, was in the process of having said to them, but they did not understand. They did not know what he was, that which he was saying to them. Egnoson is from genosko. Aorist indicative active third person plural from genosko. They did not know what he was speaking. Elale is your imperfect indicative active third person singular from laleo, and ain is your present, is your ain would be your imperfect indicative active third person plural from ami. And so they didn't understand that he was speaking, about them, it seems like. And so reading the Hebrew then of verse 6, it reads, Hamashal, there we have the word like an example or a mashal. Hamashal hazed diber Yeshua be'oznehem, v'hema lo yadu'u ma zod asher amar alehem. The figure of speech or the parable this parable, he spoke, Jesus spoke. Diber is your PL perfect third masculine singular from dabar. Jesus spoke in their ears, but they did not know. Vehema lo yada'u from yada, the cow perfect third masculine plural from yada, what it was which he had said to them. Amar here is the cow perfect third masculine singular from amar, having like a pluperfect meaning, I think, in the context here. And then looking at the Latin reading, hoc proverbium, this figure or proverb, dixit eius Jesus, the Lord or Jesus said to them. Dixit is your perfect indicative active third person singular from dico. Jesus said to them, but they did not know. Ele autom nu cognaverunt. They did not know quid esset, what it was, quid laquebatur. He was speaking to them. And cognaverunt is your perfect indicative active third person plural from cogno. They did not know that which he was uh, speaking to them. Loquebatur, I believe, is your imperfect indicative passive from the verb to speak. They did not know what he was speaking to them. So I'm going to stop there. Part of my reason for doing this is my own mental exercise. As I'm 80 years old, it helps me to try to keep my mind active in what I learned long ago in my Greek studies in college, seminary, and my PhD studies in Hebrew. Latin, I'm just trying to pick up on my own. But I enjoy looking at the polyglot and looking at the different languages. And I hope maybe there's one person out there that it might help. I know most people probably don't know what I'm even trying to do, but part of it is a mental exercise for me. And I hope it helps someone. What I see in this great text is how Jesus is describing himself as the shepherd of the sheep. The Pharisees had thrown out the blind man out of the synagogue that Jesus had healed on the wrong day. And what is striking to me, Jesus is saying, I'm the good shepherd, and I've come, and my sheep hear my voice, and I know all of them by name, and I lead them out and take care of them. What a beautiful thought for believers in Jesus to know that he is the pastor, that he is the roe, the good shepherd that leads believers and goes before them. So I'll stop there, and I think I'll try to continue doing this to keep my languages alive and also to try to improve in my Latin. I hope this helps somebody, but thank you, whoever might be listening. Try to grab a Greek New Testament, a Latin New Testament, and a Hebrew translation, which you can find on the internet by, for example, I don't think they have Dalish, which is what I'm using, but there has to be a Hebrew translation somewhere on the internet. Maybe Dalish can be found. I don't know. But I would just encourage that. My goal is to teach grammar inductively as we go through, as well as we go through this, as well as worship Jesus Christ. Thank you very much.